officially we're recording, even though I cheated.
Uh-oh, how'd you cheat?
Well, I just like carried you through my entire house without recording, you know, because I didn't like where the computer was, and we all want to be in my chair. Yeah.
I think everybody would have enjoyed that little trip through your house.
I think so too. We'd all be laughing right now. Yeah. Like, oh, Tanya's not as neat as we think she is. It's an illusion.
I love that chair.
It's a great chair. I mean, it's my own personal sound booth, which, to be honest, I want to turn it just so slightly more. Because, you know, my friend Mary got me to do this, and she was right. And it's so funny because right now, this computer is sitting on a stack of magazines. Let me tell you about my life in magazines. Here we have, Oprah is no longer on top. She's in the middle somewhere. We have Travel and Leisure, Vanity Fair, more Travel and Leisure, Town and Country, Purist, that's where Oprah is. She's way down there now. Harper's Bazaar, and a book called Addictions and Cravings that I bought because of Cash, who is the reason we know each other, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's by Michael Lincoln. Do you know the book?
I remember him talking about a book like that, but I didn't remember what it was called, but I remember like when he was reading it and when he was kind of talking about it, he did his own book on something similar and all of that.
Right, because it's not the book you think it is. It's the subtitle is Their Psychological Meaning. And I bought his other book, which Cash introduced me to when I met Cash, and we talked about my loss of smell. And I wanted to, and also Lyme disease. And both of these were things that I wanted to know more about at the metaphysical, you know, psychological level. And I guess that's what we all have in common, is that none of us is really that interested in the surface of stuff. Like, and ironic, because we met in person to do photographs, which that's the surface of stuff. But I don't think we would have done it if we didn't have this love of the deeper stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, that's kind of why we met in the first place, was, you know, that connection for that. And I think we started talking when you were still considering doing the book on
profits. Yeah.
On profits. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So which definitely, you know, we started talking when
I feel like I'm doing that book right now out loud. Like,
right,
I'm talking to the prophets because it's more fun.
Yeah.
And it actually, you know, this is so funny. Until you just said that, I hadn't thought of it, but this is what the book always should have been anyway, was conversations with prophets. Because really, what's the point of taking their picture? Right? And what's the point of me talking about my experience meeting them when my goal was always to introduce them to everyone else? So, yeah, thanks. So basically, I'm doing Prophets Among Us right now.
And it just took the freaking apocalypse to make it happen. That's all.
Story of my freaking life. Like, I am going to get so much shit done, like, an hour before I die. Assuming I know it's coming, you know, I'll be like, on my bed, I'm like, I need to make this happen. I need to make this happen. Someone's going to tell me I have a month to live, and I am going to get so much done. It's going to be crazy. But I feel like that's the point of this whole apocalypse. It's like, what are you waiting for? Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I was waiting for. I was waiting for it to be perfect. That's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
What were you? You weren't waiting. You were in it. You've been doing your thing for a long time.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting though, because it's bringing me back around to what was kind of coming up for me like 5 years ago. because in like 2015, I was channeling like one message after another. And that's kind of when we connected, was, you know, that year when I was just channeling message after message after message. And then at the end of that year, they stopped giving me messages. And it was just basically, now go live what you just channeled. It was like, yes, we've been giving you all of these instructions and all of these messages to bring through, but the message is complete and now it's time to go live it. So one of the main messages was to deal with things on the subconscious level in order to really get full-on results. So I pretty much stopped tuning in for messages anymore and just went full force into doing the psychological work and the subconscious work, and kind of stopped even trying to channel, because every time I tried, I would just get the same messages that I'd been doing that year. So I was like, okay, well, I guess they got nothing new for me. And now that things are really hitting the fan and the whole COVID thing's going on, and you know that all the systems are going to break down because of this. Like, everything's going to change. The economy is going to change. Education is going to change. The medical system is going to change. The government's going to change, which is also what I was channeling in 2015. And it was just like, back then, it seemed like this ethereal thing that was like, okay, when's it going to happen? Is it going to be this slow, steady thing that just sort of creeps along? Or is there going to be something big that smacks us in the head? And so it feels like now, finally, that's happening. It's actually occurring. There's, things, massive changes unfolding right now. And now they're telling me, get back to the channeling, get back to all of that, and kind of blend it. So combining the spiritual stuff and the living from your heart with the psychological stuff and all of that, and kind of making it all work together instead of just focusing on one or the other.
Right. Did you have a sense that something big was coming? Was that part of the message?
Well, I mean, definitely the original messages that I was channeling were very much like, the apocalypse is nigh, like, there's, it's more termed like the shift, which is basically this massive change from all of our old systems into newer, more beneficial, healthy systems. So it was noticing that everything was corrupt, everything was off. And in order for that to change, things had to get so bad that everybody could see that it needed to change before the change would actually occur. And then we'd start actually building new infrastructures and decorruptizing everything that, was kind of messed up before. So I think that what's happening right now is finally one of the main catalysts to actually starting to see that happen. But it was weird channeling about that 5 years ago and waiting all this time and kind of going, what was all that? Like, and then now here it is, like, time to break out all those channels again.
Interesting. Did you, so normally I say, hi, this is April Adams. Okay. So hi, this is April Adams. And we met originally on Facebook through Cash Peters, and you met him. Did you do a channel for him? Is that how he met you?
Oh, it's very interesting how I met Cash Peters. Mm-hmm. My friend Laura Ezekiel and I, who she's kind of like the psychic to my healer. Like, I was always like big in the healing messages and healing energy, and mm-hmm. she's like extremely intuitive. So we tended to like work very well together. We kind of amplified each other's abilities and stuff. So we met up with this woman who was trying to create a local like expo of holistic practitioners and psychics and healers and all that kind of stuff in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm. Where you live.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And that event was not going well. The planning of the event was not going well, but she had gotten several people, including Lee Harris, to sign on and Cash Peters to sign on, all to come and
didn't know
speak.
that. Oh, wow.
But because we didn't get enough audience interest and enough pre-bought tickets and stuff like that, the event had to be canceled by a certain date, or the venue would have charged her some massive amount of money that wasn't going to come through. So I had just started my own business in downtown Manchester, like 3 blocks away from the venue where the big event was going to be. And I just offered to hold the event for the people who had signed on for it. So at that point, Lee Harris dropped out because he was a little too big for a small event like that. So, I understand. But Cash Peters was like, I was already planning to come. As long as you can provide me a place to stay, I'm happy to still come and do my talk. So he actually came to my business, like the first month it was ever open, and came and did a talk during this day-long or weekend-long expo that we did in downtown Manchester.
Wow.
And it was just awesome. Like he's so interesting and has such a cool message. And at the time, I was trying to convince him that he was channeling when he was doing his handwriting stuff. And he was like, I'm not a channeler. What are you talking about? And now, of course, he's channeling all those pictures and fully admitting that he's a channel. But
and calls himself the English Channel, which is so freaking brilliant.
Right. Yeah.
Can you believe it took him like 4 years to get to that?
At least 4 years. Like it's
dude,
not...
we all saw this a long time ago.
Yeah, because I think that event that I had was like 2013.
Oh, come on, really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
So I met him in 2013. So it's been that long that, I'm like, you have an intuitive ability that you're using, because what he does, like with the handwriting analysis, is not just straight up handwriting analysis. Like he intuitively tunes into it as well, and knows way more about the person than handwriting analysis can tell about a person.
Right. I tried to do it twice, I did my handwriting one way, and then I was like, I've changed. So I'm going to give him another handwriting sample. And I did. And he basically came up with the same reading. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
You see, I can change my handwriting, but I'm the same energy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very funny.
Yeah.
I love his readings. I love his picture reading. He didn't give me the pictures. I actually, it's funny. People are now asking him to give the picture. And people want to keep the picture. He's like, artist. I'm like, yeah, you are actually. It's weird.
There's energy in those drawings.
They're weird little stick figures, but they're so awesome. It's the craziest thing. So
yeah, it really is.
And he was such a big fan of yours, like right from the start. And it was his discussion of you and your channeling that I think made me say, oh, who is this April Adams? And I want to hear about these channels. And then you're right, you did just stop. And I sort of didn't know the why.
Mm-hmm.
But I know
they were basically like, you're done. That's it. You brought through the message you were supposed to bring through. Like, okay, but all these people are waiting to hear from me. And of course, it felt like nobody wanted to hear about like the psychological stuff. They were all still stuck on the, metaphysical and spiritual messages and things. And I was like, but doing this psychological thing is exactly what they've been telling you to do in all these messages that you've been loving.
Yeah.
But now that I've actually got a physical tool for you to do, like a bunch of people kind of fell away. I was like, okay,
so you're talking about the PSTEC as the tool?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what that is, and then?
Sure. Yeah. So PSTEC is basically a combination of every different brain retraining modality that's ever been proven effective on its own, combined into an 11-minute audio track that essentially convinces your subconscious mind that you're safe in the face of any perceived threat. So if you have a phobia, it helps undo that. If you have a trauma, it helps undo that. So it kind of removes that fight or flight response from anything. And, that's wonderful to be able to use it on big, giant things like that and have it be effective. but it also works just as well on if you're mad at somebody for something they said on Facebook. Like the piddly little
That's
things
what I
that
was
bother
talking
us day
about
to
this
day.
morning. Wait, I didn't even think of that. I totally should have used it. Yes, because I was super mad at a person talking about their pool on Facebook. And I went to talk to Sydney about it. But yes, of course, PSTEC.
Yeah, and I mean it's just amazing what it unveils.
Mm.
Like when you start working through, like, why is something bothering me right now? Like, why is this thing about somebody's pool bothering me right now? And if you look at, like, what's really bothering you about that? Is it the trivialness of it? Is it, like, what is that?
Right. Is it that she's talking about a pool and a, like, $20,000 expense in the face of, like, it doesn't matter? So here, I'll tell you, like, that bothered me. But then this other thing bothered me where I had to say, like, how is this a reflection of me? The fact that I'm bothered, like,
Right.
what is it saying about me? And am I completely trivial and stupid? And like, why am I talking about, my clothes and my jewelry? And, am I useless and superficial? Then there was another aspect of, am I actually angry and upset about other stuff that has nothing to do with a stranger and her pool? So yeah, so how does PSTEC deal with it?
Such crazy layers that unfold when we start, like, digging. But what I find happens is, if you look for, like, why is this really bothering me? And you look at, like, when has something similar bothered me? So, usually if we're triggered by something, it's either because we feel like they're allowed to do this thing, but I'm not.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Or we have experienced something similar in the past where someone has done something similar to us in the past. So, if our boss is being a jerk and he's being condescending or something, then we're triggered by somebody being condescending to us. So we need to look at, what is the pattern in my life of people being condescending to me, and clear all of that, as opposed to just the isolated incident of now. But those silly little things that bother us in the now are showing us, like, you still have that as a trigger. So we need to look at the multiple times in your life where you've had that trigger, where you've been exposed to that trigger, and being able to clear it with the PSTEC in all of those moments in one round, instead of only focusing on the isolated thing that's happening right now. Right. And the same thing goes for if somebody is doing something that you've never allowed yourself to do, that you try really hard to never do. Like, maybe the pool thing for you is all about that surface.
Like, I want the fact that I have $20,000 to go do whatever with my pool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, why does she have all of this frivolous income to spend when I don't have that extra just kind of flowing in, and always have that abundance to do whatever the heck I want with? And so there's that kind of resentment that comes up of, like, here she is complaining about this thing, and I would love to have that, and like, just freaking out about, why does she get this when I don't, kind of thing. Or,
but so do I need to know, like, for instance, I could name 3 reasons that thing upset me, but I can't name all 15 that might be true. So I can't name them. I can't tell you what they are. Does it still work?
So a lot of times what happens is, the more you use this, the more your brain starts to cooperate. So you'll be doing the click track, and you'll be, like, freaking out about whatever it is that's bothering you in the moment, and kind of listing some of the things that it reminds you of. And so you might front and center in your brain have 2 or 3 of those examples ready. But your brain is going to start coming in with another random memory and another random memory that all have something to do with that particular thing. So I do find that the more in tune with the tools you get, the more your brain starts to try to help you out, and shows you, this is a root memory of that, or this is a root memory of that. And if it doesn't happen during the track, a lot of times maybe you'll have a dream that night about it, a route from, even earlier than you typically would remember, or past life sometimes. So, roots can kind of come from a lot of different places.
Does it help with things like, I mean, anger is kind of an easy one because we use the word trigger. It feels so alive, right? But what about something like depression that feels, depression feels so heavy and so dead. And I remember when I was super depressed, I couldn't make a sentence practically. I certainly couldn't make a phone call. I'm not even sure I could have reached out to someone like you and said, I hear you have this thing.
Right, exactly. And, I mean, the PSTEC cannot fix depression. To me, anxiety or depression is like this giant brick wall. And you have to work on the individual bricks that are contributing to that wall in order to break it down. So, and the other thing with depression, it usually comes from anxiety. So typically, you'll have been anxious about a bunch of things for a really long time until your adrenals and your hormone systems are so worn out, you've got nothing left. So you've been kind of on this anxiety hamster wheel, and then at some point you just give out because you're like, I don't have enough energy to get through anything because I've been running on extreme for so long. So that's usually where depression comes from. So you kind of have to go back to working on, what were the contributors?
How did you get here?
Right.
Right. Don't they say about depression that it's anger turned inward? Do you agree with that?
I could see that. I don't know if it's always that way, but, we do tend to blame ourselves, when we're feeling anxious or when we have a negative thought or anything of that nature, but it's not really us doing it. Like, our brain is designed to look for bad. It's designed to scan for what could be bad, what could go wrong, what's missing. And so we're doing the thing that our brain is designed to do, and then we're beating ourselves up for it. And it's really this identification that we have with our brains.
Right.
When our brain is just an organ, just like our stomach is just an organ. And you don't blame the stomach for growling. You don't blame the stomach for digesting your food, but you blame yourself
for putting the wrong food in there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And you blame yourself for having a negative thought, and you blame yourself for worrying about something when you know you shouldn't, and all of that. But it's just, your brain is just doing its job. And yet, we get mad at ourselves when our brain is doing its job. And it it doesn't make any sense, but I think just because we identify as our thoughts, we identify as our brains, that we think that's us, but there's a whole other layer of who we really are. And the fact that we can observe, oh, my brain is currently having this thought. Is this thought valid? Is this thought helpful? Maybe my brain's trying to help me, but it's misguided. So being able to look at it like that.
So this is so crazy, but this morning I saw this thing on Instagram. I think it was posted yesterday, and it was, and for anyone who cares, today is what, the 7th of April? So this would have been posted on the 6th of April by Glennon Doyle, who is kind of a famous mommy blogger. And normally I don't even see things like this because I don't have a little kid running around, but it was serious and hilarious at the same time. She was talking about a woman who was a friend who was in tears when she called her because she was trying to get work done during TV time for her child. And Glennon just goes on this riff about TV time. There's no TV time during COVID. It's all TV time. Like it's 100% TV time, people. Like, forget TV time and stop beating yourself up. And so it's funny because the woman that I'm thinking about with the pool, I know her through a mom's group, which is weird because, my son's 21. So I don't need to engage in a group like that right now. But yeah, we're like, moms are the worst about, I should do this, I should do that, I'm in charge of these little beings, I need to be perfect, and I need to like hold it together and roll it out and entertain them and feed them and take care of them, and them first and me last, and all of it is so, it's like everything that could trigger a person about beating themselves up, moms do it times 2
Oh
or
yeah.
4.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
And I just
I think we
love,
were the same way when we were
yeah,
doing that too.
I love that Glennon was just like, cut that out. Everybody cut everybody some slack right now. Like, rules don't apply. And that was such a brilliant, funny way of delivering that message. But we all do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
consciously,
Yeah.
subconsciously, we're like the most abusive bunch of people I've like ever
The
seen.
most self-abusive bunch of people.
Self-abusive, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's nuts. And I'm just fascinated by the array of triggers for people in this whole COVID thing. It's just been amazing to me to see, everybody's triggered by something in
Yes.
it. Whether it's having to spend so much time shut in with your spouse or your kids, whether, for me, my big one was not like the fear that we're not going to be able to go outside during the spring and summer, because I'm a big adventurer. And so typically anytime I'm not with clients, I'm out like on my paddleboard or out on a hike or going to the beach or whatever. And so, in New Hampshire, we have enough nature that most of us could go outside and still be 6 feet apart.
On the same day.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. If you're in San Francisco or Boston or Italy, where, everybody's wall to wall people, if everyone went to the park, they'd all be elbow to elbow in the park.
Yeah. Well, Los
So,
Angeles, they closed the beaches.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have actually closed the state parks and beaches here in New Hampshire because people were going and not practicing safe distancing and whatever. But my whole thing has been like, what if this lasts for the next 3 or 4 months and I miss out on my summer? Like, that to me is my big trigger. And so I've been PSTECing that like crazy. And interestingly,
Hold on, I plugged this thing in, but I didn't plug it in. So
oh,
you can keep talking. Hold on.
yeah. So I was doing some work on it, and my brain showed me what the root of that trigger was, and it went back to being in the crib. So what I was seeing was like me going to my window on a beautiful summer day and looking outside and going, why can't I go outside? It's beautiful out. And then the window slats turned into crib bars.
No way.
And it was like me as an infant or toddler kind of having that fear of missing out. Like, my family's out there doing all this stuff and I want to be out there with them. Or
You're crying in the script.
so, it was bringing me back to feeling trapped in my crib by thinking about, I don't get to go outside and have the adventures that I want to have if this continues. So, it was fascinating to see that for me and understand the root and do some clearing work on that. But, just seeing like people have financial fears and worries that are coming up from this. They've got health concerns, worries about losing their loved ones, just the amount of things that are coming out of this, and just showing us like it's a huge gift, showing us like it's time to do the work, it's time to clear your triggers, get that out of the way so that you can actually like make a difference and actually go into this next phase of life more calm, more at peace, able to actually contribute instead of staying in that fear place.
And to know that you can get through it. Like, because you're right. I actually feel like that's one of the points of the whole thing, is to force us all into our own personal stress situation. And it's super different for each person. Like, how many people are on the planet? That's how many different things are going on. So we're all being forced into the stress position. And most of us are going to get to the other side and say, oh, I think that was the worst thing. I think I was thinking about the worst thing that possibly could have happened to me, and I'm okay. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's what we're supposed to get out of it,
Yeah.
among other things.
Right. Yeah, I think so too. And that's what the channeled messages were all about 5 years ago too. It was just like, we are going to see like the worst case possible scenarios, and everything that's coming up for you right now is coming up so you can clear it and get it out of your way so that you're not carrying that heavy baggage into what's coming next.
That makes so much sense, because I'm not afraid of the dying part. I don't know if that's weird or normal. I don't think everyone's
I'm
afraid.
not either. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, death's not even the worst thing. I'm more afraid of bankruptcy personally, which is
Exactly. Yes. And speaking of that, I have a friend who predicted the last crash of
Mhm.
the stock market, like, I don't know, 8 years ago or whenever that was.
Mhm.
And everybody kept telling him, you're Chicken Little. You're just, you're freaking out and you're panicking or whatever. And this is nothing. And then it crashed.
Yeah.
So he's been for a while predicting a crash coming up again. And he's like, this is it. This is the catalyst for that crash. And it's going to be like Great Depression level crash. So his big thing is to tell everybody, have cash on hand.
Yeah.
Like, get some of your money out of the bank and have it, somewhere safe,
Do you think
because
that's real, or
it's,
do you think that's just his issue?
I wouldn't be surprised if it actually did create, I mean, he's made his living off of the stock market
Mhm.
for the last 10, 15 years. So he knows what he's talking about with the stock market, and currently has nothing invested in the stock market right
Yeah,
now.
neither do I. I actually, you know what? I took it out when Trump took office,
Mm-hmm.
partly because I didn't trust Trump, and partly because I knew really all I had was my son's future. Like, his education fund was in the stock market,
Right.
and we lost half of it in the last recession. So I learned my lesson, and I learned it in two ways. One was, don't take everything out, because that's what I did with my personal money in the market, and I lost everything. I lost it's an obscene amount of money, because I'd sold a house and I was like, oh, I'm getting out of real estate. I'm putting it all into the stock market. Boom, crash, goodbye. Um, but my other reasoning was that I didn't have a 5-year horizon anymore for my son, because he was just about to go to college. And I was like, well, if I lose the upside, I lose the upside. But I don't have 5 years. I need the cash. Keep it cash. And that turned out to be great. And it's funny, my sister was in the same boat, and she's like, well, you came out ahead, because she kept everything in for her kids, also about the same age. And she's like, I'm now behind where I was when Trump was elected. And I think, well, I guess I had the right feeling at the wrong time. And I guess either way would have really been okay too. Like that, I think that's the third message is, because she's panicking a little right now. She's feeling like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need to watch it every day. And she's like trying to catch the falling knife, and I'm like, no, turn it off, walk away, do
Right.
nothing.
Yeah, it certainly does not help to immerse yourself in the bad news every single day. It's not
Right.
going to help anything to
Because
be
it's
in that
also,
place.
it has funny parallels with photography for me. Like, you've got to stay like right here, right now, present. Like, do not think about the future, what if, try not to go too much into the past, it was like this before. Just stay right here, and stay right here again. And
Mm.
yeah, because it looks really bad if you go there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, once again, it's like, that's her trigger, that's her fear.
Mm,
And that's one of the ones that's the hardest trigger to permanently clear, because it's so ingrained in us, that fear that the rug is going to be pulled out from under us financially and that there won't be enough. because our ancestors went through the Great Depression, the potato famine, slavery, Holocaust, and, generations back. Those are just the recent ones, I mean, like, if you look back, like, so many generations of our ancestors have had to go through these periods of not having enough, and they'll have been fine, and then suddenly the rug will be pulled out from under them, and then there's not enough. So we all, through epigenetics, we genetically carried their triggers of that possibility of the rug being pulled out from under us. And that's coming up right now for so many people, because we all feel like, like the people who've already lost their jobs, or at least have to go without their income for 2 months because of the whole COVID shutdown and everything. But the outcome of what this is going to look like in the future economically, it's going to be a roller coaster for a while, and we have to deal with the fears that we have of all those what ifs, so that we can ride that roller coaster more easily without the fight or flight response constantly being there.
So I just thought of something crazy that I know you'll be able to figure out how to address this, but you were saying that our brains are looking for the negative stuff, right?
Yep.
Because out of the Great Depression, some people built enormous fortunes. Out of the Holocaust, okay, it's horrible to say, but like some Nazis became incredibly wealthy. I mean, for every horrible negative thing, some people, and not always horrible people like World War II, but some people found opportunity, thrived for the weirdest reasons. I mean, I read about some guy who has been selling soap his entire life. Who knew that selling soap would be like the greatest thing ever right now?
Right.
So why do we go to is that because it's just a survival thing? Like,
yeah.
So the negative is life or death.
Right.
And no one ever thinks about the upside, the positive.
Well, the thing is that we are constantly looking for what could go wrong as a survival mechanism. And that was very beneficial to us when our survival was constantly in peril.
Mm.
When we had saber-toothed tigers around us and there were people always trying to steal our family or trying to steal our territory or trying to steal our food, then it was really important and very valuable to constantly be on guard and watching for the negative. So we kind of learned that that was the best way to stay alive. But now, well, at least until this, we actually did not have constant threats to our survival. And so we applied that same reactivity and watchfulness and fear to stupid little piddly day-to-day things that weren't really worth all that energy, but our brains were just automatically transferring to what could possibly be a threat to me. And it's just that you would react to these dumb little things that really weren't a threat to your survival as though they were a threat to your survival.
Is that like hence the run on toilet paper?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Like you don't need it really. I mean, there are more important things to be hoarding. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole toilet paper phenomenon was just a weird, misplaced fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Confirmation.
Yeah. It was just everybody, kind of freaking out like, oh my gosh, what if there's not enough? And I think people thought they were going to have to stay inside and not be able to like go out for stuff.
Right.
Like for a long period of time. I think they weren't really realizing like the stores are going to remain open. You'll still be able to go and get your necessities.
Right.
And people.
But you never know. Like we've never had this exact kind of thing before. I mean, we've had snowstorms, we've had hurricanes, we've had, the power's going to be out. We've had the flooding is going to take your house. This is just a weird, different animal. Right. And did you I'm sure you saw the story about the guy who went around buying all of the sanitizer in the South.
Yes.
And then he couldn't sell it. So he thought, like, I'm rich. He was going to be one of the ones who came through and was like, wealthier than ever. Now he probably can't pay the bill for all the sanitizer he bought.
Yeah. Yep.
Weird outcomes. Like what's the lesson of that? Don't buy all
For
this.
him, like
Right. His special lesson is different from for other people.
exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't mind having a conversation with him just to see what that particular thought process was for him. But
Yeah. But then, and so then what if he took all of it to the nearest hospital and donated all of it? I mean, that would probably trigger a whole other
and I
series.
think that that's kind of what they started doing with some of the people who had done things like that. They actually did start to kind of donate them
In
to,
big ways.
right, right.
Yeah. I've been fascinated by that as well. There's a lot of, it's a very interesting time to be watching celebrities
Mm,
who, on the one hand, they're just like us, according to People magazine, but which is, come on, I mean, like, we know people are people and celebrity's not a thing, except that weird numbers of people make it a thing.
hmm
And so, yes, there are people that have a lot of eyes on them and have a lot of shekels in the bank. And it's interesting to see what's happening and what they're doing. And I was watching Lady Gaga's organizing some big giant, concert with a whole bunch of cool people and and great. That's awesome. Her Rolodex is different from my Rolodex. And that's a great way to help if you can like call up your Rolodex, and everyone wants to contribute, and it's so interesting how it's coming out right now.
hmm It
Right.
really is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people don't want to contribute. Some people want to hoard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. And that's, like you said, that's the fear coming forward. That's that survival level fear, just going like, I need to take some kind of action. What action can I take? And, that action is buying up all of the toilet paper, all of the hand sanitizer. It's mine. You can't have any.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've certainly been on my own roller coaster. I mean, when I go to the dark place, in the dark place, I get reminded that my credit card debt is probably equivalent to my annual salary at this point. And that's scary. That's not a good place to be. And I was talking with a friend and I said, yeah, but you know what? I have friends with less and I will send them $100 on PayPal if I can, so that they can get some groceries. Does it mean I'm in even more debt? Yeah, it does. But you know what? That's not today. Like, that's not today. Food is today. Debt is tomorrow. And I mean, if Donald Trump can do it, and I'm not saying like, because going bankrupt is not really in my vocabulary. Believing in abundance is like at my core. It's how
Right.
I live. It's what I believe. I'm like, okay, money up, money down. Like, do not believe in money. Do not believe in celebrity. Do not, like, I've been here. There's no here. There's no here. There's none of that. It's just here.
Right. Yeah. One of the main things that I've had to program into myself to kind of counteract some of the fear-based stuff is I trust the universe to provide for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, my whole life I've been provided for. I've always had enough. I've never really had to go without in some major way.
Yeah.
And yet we still all have that, like, what if there's not enough? And all of that what if and all of that fear and all of that coming up. And so whenever I choose to program that into my subconscious on another level, it's amazing what starts to flow toward me. And, like new influxes of clients, money coming out of nowhere, like whatever it is that I felt was lacking starts to flow toward me, the more that I can remind myself, the universe does provide for me, and I trust that that will happen. And it
Yeah.
just,
And it's not linear. It's not like, oh, if I do a good job on this, I will make this. Like sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Photographers
right.
are notorious for this. You know, photographers are always like, well, I'm going to do this job because it's good for my portfolio and it's going to lead to X, Y, Z. And and young photographers say this all the time. I'm like, it might not. You know, being featured in a magazine, it might not. It doesn't matter. You don't know. It's not about the outcome. It's about the energy that you put into the process.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the same as a photograph. Like sometimes the photo works out pretty and nice. Sometimes the experience was better than the photo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes the photo's better than the experience. Like I just don't believe in linear experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We should talk about that. Like, what was because, you know, this is a photography show, right? We have to talk about your experience of being photographed and what that was like for you. And I know you do photos all the time. And I love that you said that you change your hair seasonally. That's like one of your really cool personal features.
Yeah, it's kind of how I play, I guess. You know, I'm a pretty serious Capricorn type person, but I've got a lot of Sagittarian influence, and so I will kind of find ways to play and get wild every once in a while. And so changing my hair color seasonally is kind of like this fun way to play with who I am and how I look and how I'm presenting myself and how I feel even.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
You know,
changed
I mean, you
I
change your
changed my
wardrobe
sweater,
at
you
those
change
times.
exactly. Yeah, I change my sweater, you change your hair. You feel brave.
It's one of the benefits of having such short hair. You can do whatever you want with it color wise. And
Yeah,
if you don't like it, a month later, it'll be something entirely different.
I love that. I love that. So any thoughts on like when we were in Boston and we met and did photos, or was it easy? Was it hard? Was it just another day?
Well, you know, I mean, overall, I think just I have to say that everything to me at this point is just another day.
Totally agree.
Um, with
And
the amount,
it was a play day, right?
yeah, yeah, it was just, you know, like I had fun. I mean, of course, there's always a level of like unknown and discomfort and things like that. But at the same time, it's like, oh, this is kind of a fun adventure. This is something different. And okay, yeah, people on the streets of Boston are kind of looking at us like, the hell's going on over here? Like, who's this lady?
Right?
But at the same time, it was fun. And, you know, we got to see some beautiful places and had a wonderful dinner that night. That was really
I know
awesome.
that place was great. Little out
Yeah.
here. I thought about, because you know Alex is still up there in Boston, and I thought about that place not long ago because he goes to yoga near there, and I thought that's such a shame is to not be able to eat outdoors in a restaurant right now in Boston when it's so beautiful out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yep. And I
but
mean, I just can only imagine what that part of Boston looks like right now with the shutdown and everything. How much, like, how just like completely empty it must look, except for the people who are just, you know, having to go to work at this point. But
yeah, I don't see that much of it. I mean, he's not running around, you know, taking pictures or anything, but every once in a while he'll call me for a chat. And the other day he was in a hammock on campus. And his friend was in a different hammock, you know, 20 feet away from him between two other trees. And I said, aren't you so lucky that you have a hammock?
right.
He was like getting a tan. And I mean, there's not a soul around. The campus emptied a long time ago. The classes are online. All the dorms are empty. He's alone. Um, he just wanted to stay because his friend is graduating and he wanted to sort of be supportive and stay with this guy who is not only Chinese, but is going back to China, I guess, at some point after he graduates.
Wow.
Um,
And how's he feeling? Does he feel safe right now in all of this?
I think he does. I mean, honestly, he just wanted to come home to come surfing. Like typical Alex. Um, but he feels safe enough to stay there. His roommate's a great cook.
Oh, nice. Good.
So that's always been a bonus for Alex. But Alex has been trying to cook a little bit. He sends me pictures of his food, and um, he's calm, and yeah, he's calm anyway. So I think he's not losing it. No one I know is losing it, or at least I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to see the people who are losing it in a month or two, because it's like people tend to cancel their appointments with me when they need it most, or when people need help most, that's when they tend to just like hermit up and just kind of like curl into a ball and wait for it to pass. And so it kind of has to get to like a little bit of a worse place, or to a point where they're just like, okay, it's been the same for this long period of time. I guess I should finally do something about it. And
Yeah.
that's when they come out of the woodwork kind of looking for me. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting, in a couple of weeks to start seeing those people who've just been like curling up into a ball and trying to just duck and cover and wait for it to go.
Well, that's step one, right? I mean, step one is just stay alive. Like, keep your shit together as much as possible. Just go through the motions. I mean, I've been super depressed in my life, so I know that feeling. I mean, my husband used to take little Post-it notes and put them on the headboard behind me and like, call this person, call that person, do this, do that. He put like a to-do list on the headboard, and I just wanted to smack him, but I didn't have the energy to do that either. And we're talking like early mid 90s, and so this is before Netflix and all that stuff, but we had VHS tapes, and I would binge watch whatever we had like during the day, and then I wouldn't tell him that I did it, and then I would rewind the tapes so that he thought I hadn't watched. All I did was watch TV all day every day. We're sort of in that, like, I don't know, I'm already past the Netflix phase of this. I actually am watching less TV than ever. But I know that was phase one of this for a lot of people, was duck and cover, like watch endless Netflix. Now it's endless humorous Netflix. Like,
Right.
Nobody wants to watch Pandemic anymore.
And it's crazy. My wife watched Pandemic last week.
It's not funny anymore.
What is wrong with you?
So true. Oh my God. So what are you guys doing? I mean, so you can't go outside. She's not watching Netflix, or is?
Yeah, I mean, we're still like watching TV and stuff, but not like,
Not
not marathoning things. And yeah, but honestly, she's been still working full time. She's a teacher, so she's been teaching online. So the first week or two, she was actually working 12-hour shifts because, I mean, while she was teaching using technology before, so she knew how to use all the technology. It was just figuring out how to create content day by day to put it up for the kids so that they could learn in the same way that she would normally teach them face to face. But the websites and the services that are there for teachers to be able to present that material for kids in a secure way kept shutting down because all of America was using that service and it couldn't stand that level of interaction. So they'd be trying to upload information and stuff and it would break, like it would just kind of go down, and then they'd have to wait for it to reload and then try again. And so she was doing that, plus she was having to teach the teachers who had refused to integrate technology up until now how to use their stuff.
Help.
So she was not only doing her own job, waiting for the computers to upgrade, and she was also trying to teach the other teachers how to do what they needed to do to get this up and running. So the first couple of weeks, she was like nonstop. And then I did have a slow week just because it fell in with like Christmas break. I had a week off. In February, I had a week off. And so like just my scheduling rounds just so happened that that week, like a few weeks out, I hardly had any clients. So like last week I was super like slow, hardly any clients. So I just kind of got to chill out, eat comfort food, relax a little bit. And now this week and next week I'm busy again and stuff. So I'm kind of like right back into my normal schedule, only before it was like 50-50 of like in-person clients versus online. Now everybody's online. And that was a pretty smooth transition for me for the most part.
But I think you're right. I think that the healers are ramping up in a big way. I don't know. Do you still post content? Do you still do like just your own talking video about what's going on or anything like that?
Sometimes. I just started a group because I had been kind of getting the message to, get back to the channeling and stuff. I started a group called the Apocalypse Survival Alliance, and we meet on Friday evenings and we talk about how to PSTEC whatever triggers are coming up. And then I do like a channeled message or a guided meditation or something of that, level, just to get everybody kind of rebalanced and grounded again and figuring out, okay, what's my purpose right now in this? What's the greater scheme of things that's going on? So I started doing that in like a private group with people just last week. So that's going to be going on and as long as it's needed, so I think probably a few months, but who knows, it may extend out.
We'll see. Yeah. Did you have, do you have online meditations out there that are on YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah. So, I have a YouTube channel. And so the video version of my podcast is on there. And I also do have some guided meditations and, other videos and things that I've put up there.
That's my favorite thing right now is like just looking around for meditations. And there's this one Indian mantra that I love. It's by, it's sung by Diva Permal. Is that right?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't know it.
Anyway, so so I've listened to it so much that I was like, I wonder what she's actually saying. So then I started to look at it. Then I started to like try to learn it, and I can almost do it by heart now. And I was like, yeah, this is not what I ever expected I would be doing, but I love it, and I love searching for meditations just on YouTube more than other things. That's pretty much all I search for right now is music that's soothing, meditations that are soothing, trying different things.
So I don't know if you have these or not, but my second book, Less Logic, More Wisdom, which was the collection of channeled messages that I did in like 2014, 15. There is a collection of guided meditations that accompany that book that are like super powerful. Each one is almost like getting an energy work session done.
Oh,
so
can you send me all the links for that stuff? And I will, like, I'll just add it into this.
So it's actually, it's on my website on apriladams.org. If people go to book bonuses, like the tab book bonuses, all of the links for my books and stuff are there, but also the free download of those guided meditations are just there, like whether you've bought the book or not. So people can just kind of go and download those. But the biggest one I've been like suggesting to people recently is the energy filtration meditation, because it's really like when you're constantly being exposed to negative energy and heavy energy and all of that, it basically makes it so that you're like an air purifier for negative energy, but you're not depleted by it. You actually almost like feed off of it and are able to automatically transform it into like positive, good feeling energy for yourself and whoever or whatever energies you're kind of interacting with. So that one's
trees taking in carbon dioxide, turning it into oxygen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
It's funny. I've been thinking about all of that all day today. The video I made this morning was about editing. But it came out of my experience of walking through the trees and thinking about purification and thinking about, the trees are supposed to be the lungs of the planet. And isn't it funny that this particular virus is attacking our lungs? Meanwhile, I think the trees are kind of pissed off at us because we've been polluting their lungs for so long, right? They're mad. They're getting us back, or somebody is. But purifying, period. That's like the message right now. Purify your mind, body, lungs, spirit, surroundings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yay. And you have all of that on your website. How convenient.
It's just sitting there ready to go.
I know, but you know what? I feel like I always call the right person at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the beauty of this. I just, I didn't know what day we were going to speak until we just said, let's do this. And I just love that. I love
Mm-hmm.
the magic of everyone I know and how it works out. And
all those synchronicities.
I love that.
Me too.
Best.
Yep.
Well, I hope
never
to
know.
be a repeat guest on my new TV show. Whatever the hell Tanya's TV.
I love that.
But yeah, it was so great talking to you today.
You too. I appreciate you having me on.
Yay. Yeah, who knew? A week ago, Tanya didn't have a TV show.
Now look at you. How many episodes have you done so far?
Now I'm the hostess with the mostest. I don't know. I don't know. 5, 6. I don't know. I try to just go back and forth. Like, I talk alone and then with somebody and then alone. And then, I do my alone thing every day because it's 2 different conversations for me. And it's actually,
so one's kind of like a diary entry.
Right. So it's how I feel life is anyway. There's our experience of life and what we're going through. And then there's the reflected experience that we get from connecting or talking with other people or, whatever that is.
Yeah. And connecting is so important right now. Going within is very important right now too, but so is connecting outward. And
and I couldn't choose. I can't choose anyway. And I know that as a person, I know I'm a connector. Like that's just one of my favorite things. And because I couldn't choose, I was like, well, I'll do both.
That's the best way to go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I was too with the Apocalypse Survival Alliance group. I was kind of like, well, I want to serve the light workers, but I also want to serve whoever's sitting there in fear and doesn't understand what's going on with the bigger shift right now. So I kind of made it for both. It was like, both of those people need support right now. And, the people who are light workers and get the shift and what's happening right now can come and contribute to that energy and benefit from their having their energy balanced, but also being able to bring in the people who don't necessarily know exactly what's going on right now and need much more help and guidance and everything can benefit from, that group energy too. So I was like, I'm not going to decide which one of those 2 groups of people I want to serve right now. I want to serve all of them.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Wow. Yeah. You're going to be super busy. I just already know. I'm glad we could sneak an hour in, or an hour 10. Oh, we should end exactly at an hour 11 minutes.
Oh, yes. Let's count down.
Like everyone else counts down to the beginning of their show. We count down to the end of our show.
Right.
That's awesome. So yeah, anytime 40 seconds from now or so. Because we're not, fixing the angels or anything, but we are.
I'm always looking for those numbers.
I know, right? Well, you have a great time up there in New Hampshire. I do hope you get to go outside and sneak off in the woods sometimes. And I'm sure you do. I know you do.
So yeah, we've been still going outside. We're still allowed to go
Oh,
out for hikes and daily walks and things like that. I'm just worried that, the adventures that I normally can do throughout the summer
the big
are
one.
are going to possibly be shut down. And so fortunately I have tools to get over myself if that happens. But
Okay, get over yourself with April Adams. It's been so nice having you. Oh, I just saw it. I just saw 11111. It just,
yay.
all right, on that note, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
So
so much.
nice to see you.
Have a beautiful apocalypse.
Oh, not the apocalypse, it's the party. All right, take care. Bye.
You too.